Good afternoon. Welcome to OptionsTender. It's Tuesday, June 24th, 2025. Welcome, everybody. We're going to go through SPX on multiple time frames. We're going to do daily 65, check out the VIX, what's happening there. And clearly we made new highs today. Are we going to all-time highs? Possibly. Do we have a lot of resistance above us? That's what we'll talk about. So we're doing this video intraday about noon Eastern Standard Time. If you want to get these videos intraday, consider becoming a YouTube supporter. It's 99 cents a month. Comes with trade alerts and the Discord, which we are. I'm so proud to have this Discord. We have phenomenal charts in there. People are really starting to step up, and a lot of good traders there. And I know it's a great learning space. We have just very positive information, and I love it. So today we also have a $4.99 option to, no pun intended, monthly $4.99 for individual stocks. I did a bunch of videos today, and one of them I'm really proud to say is I did some studying on the Wyckoff. I'm not a pro on distribution in particular, but I went over the Wyckoff distribution here. I also have one on a video that explains this as being in leading expanding diagonal, meaning that's an impulse wave to the downside, and we see a lower high here. So I explained all of the different phases and those little acronyms there. So check that out. I'll post the video up top. It is $4.99 a month, and obviously if you join, you can check it, and then if you don't feel like it's of any value, then all of the videos that I do, then go ahead and drop it. Yeah. So anyway, I do these free. Anyway, they come out at 4 p.m. if you're not interested in contributing. So right now we're looking at this visually. We had the breakdown, breakout. We made it past supply area. Created a consolidation, and this looks just so similar to this here. So it just does not surprise me that we're doing this. And when we go to the lower levels on a 65, you can count this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you have your last wave here. But hell, it might close this gap and go for one more. But let me draw couple more resistances to see what happens here, and I'll show you the bullish scenario too. And the bullish scenario, so we're lining this up with this top here, and then we're going to line up another one. So I'm going to make it a zone, line up another one with that top, and then one more. I know it gets busy, but you have that top right in there. So this is tons of resistance. We'll see if we get above it. In the bullish scenario, if this is a 1-2, you should see this just kind of climb through there. Maybe it gaps over with news or something like that, and goes up to those historic trend lines that we've talked about in the weekly time frames. They're just up above, so that's 6,200 plus, somewhere around there, and we'll see what happens with price action. But for now, this looks like, just another wedge forming after a breakdown. So with our Elliott wave analysis we did on the SPX earlier for members, we showed that wave 3 into a wave 5 was the case. But now on a lower degree, we're looking at a wave 3 into a wave 5. So that's how that Elliott oscillator works. You can check that video out if you want. But right now we're looking at a bearish rising wedge, breakdown, formed a new wedge, breakdown, and this was all a 1, 2, 3, or obviously if you're counting ABCs and stuff like that, but a 1, 2, 3. So we have our wave 3 breakdown. Wave 4 often breaks the trend line and continues up with its higher degree. Wave 5. So we had another wave 4 breakdown out of this trend, and another wave 5. So this should be, in my opinion, this should be complete. I know people are making fun and saying, he's been calling crashes forever. Well, I called this crash, and this one I did not. That was a big no-no. I thought we were getting our bounce here, and then we had moved down. But if we get this lower high, this is going to continue to move down lower and lower and lower, in my opinion. Again, if it makes a new high, great. There's going to be an objective short, and you can consider this a wave 5 ending, and then we start our bear market after that. So I think this is dragging people in, and most of the people that are talking and commenting aren't even traders. So I don't know why I pay attention to that, but let's look at some of these indicators. So we have the 20 moving average that held with also the resistance, now support. And so we're in a bullish posture, setting up another bigger wedge. And we're getting also into that trend line that I drew up here, reversed off of it. It is valid now. We have one touch here, point here, and now we're getting right back in there in confluence with the old highs, the old all-time highs there. McClellan oscillator. All right, getting stronger. Maybe this ends with a overbought condition, but we're still in negative divergence no matter how you analyze this. This didn't play out. This isn't done. Okay, this is still on a bigger scheme of things, and we looked at on the weekly analysis I did yesterday. So if you haven't checked that out, I have the summation index with this, and it gives us a channel. We have negative divergence on that. It's just great information. All right. All right. So we have this is what you call a 3-peak negative divergence on RSI. Peak here, lower high, lower high. Okay. So that is a setup. There is a definition for it. It's there. And then you have negative divergence here. But right now we see, and we pointed this out yesterday, that gives us the bullish headwinds there. We saw this rolling to the upside, turning to the upside. And now we have, if you're bearish, you have those headwinds against you. We want to see this roll back over, and then we'll see this match the MACD. So we're still in negative territory. It's testing the yellow line. The leader line is testing the MACD, which is the blue line. And so we're really tight price action. But today, guess what? Negative divergence. Negative divergence. Negative divergence. We can come right there on this one. Okay. And DMARC. I don't think anything new here. I did check all of these indicators this morning when we made new highs, and I was looking for evidence that maybe this is starting to, maybe this is a 1-2 and we're looking for wave 3 higher, and it continues, and there's just not really any evidence to me. And so that's what we're going through today. On this move here, guess what? Another negative divergence here on the awesome oscillator. Just not giving any indication of the ability to start a new leg up. Yes, we made new highs. Is it giving us a new leg higher? I don't think so. I think this is all part of this one move here. Okay, and meaning the last move. Okay, so we have our money flow index. Fantastic indicator for reversals. All right, we're back there. We have negative divergence up here. We're making higher price and lower highs in here in the money flow index. Okay, and so this is distribution. This is exactly what that Wyckoff distribution is telling us. Money is coming out. You made a high, lower high, again, new highs here and a lower high, and this is rolling over. So this is going to be a fantastic indicator in hindsight, but for now we have to believe in our indicators. And we're getting up to the Bollinger Band here, not quite touching it. Yeah, yes, you can say that's touched there. That is an objective sell right there. This is a sell, so you can obviously see price right there at the red line, and this is still a very thin band here that will expand, and I think to the downside. That's a sell setup right here. Volume, we're in volume. Elliott oscillator is what we look at here for the wave 3 going into a wave 5. But clearly that was a wave 3 top again in the lower scheme of things because of this Elliott oscillator. That's what it shows us. It goes the wave 3 into 5. Okay, obviously that was another wave 3. So now we have our wave 5 on a lower degree right here. That's what that's telling us. It doesn't mean that you can't have a day going higher or pausing into today, consolidating, getting another little gap up there. But in the scheme of things, just like this, you have your initial move. Maybe that's our initial move, and one day really tight range, a possible reversal candle there again, another high. So 3 days of just barely going anywhere, and then you have your drop. So we could see that it doesn't have to reverse today or tomorrow. We just have to be very, very patient. And if calling out any bullish plays, it's suicide at this point. If you caught a which we did, but they were hedges, had some SPY calls, this lower level, just to protect the money that we were making. Well, we reversed those calls into puts again. So that was a nice move that we had there in the Discord. I hope everybody followed that. And let's go to VIX. Also did a video on Cannabis today. We bought some Tilray yesterday and may have caught the actual low. I wasn't intending to do the actual low, but so here's something that with the cycles that kind of neglected to pick up on. So with this rising cycle here, this is actually, you could argue this is bearish. Let's say we're in this peaking phase and we also have a minor low here. So maybe we just get a bounce, okay, in this rising phase, and we head lower to new lows, and that would give us new highs in the market, all-time highs. So you can definitely argue that in this case. I like this trend line. I like that we may be setting a higher low at this point after the breakout, and that we're in the minor cycle low. So we still have this rising phase to pick up with. And if this is bullish, you could see a bullish move in this rising phase all the way to a right-hand translation, all the way out until we get into July, the beginning of July, the 7th, 8th or so, till we get back into this dominant cycle low where we could get crushed, okay? And then make another higher low and so on. So we're back underneath 19. That's a real big area for us. So I can't deny the argument that, maybe we get this low into here today, tomorrow, or whenever, because we're in that cycle low. And then we get a lower high. Okay, that's definitely something we have to look into. But at this point, I'm looking for a higher low. All right, let's put the moving averages so we can see on here. Yeah, we're underneath everything, so there's nothing really bullish about that, except for making a higher low if we get back above these moving averages. Okay. So let's go to SPY on the 65. So again, here's what we're looking for. So what we had to do here was adjust this as a 1, 2. We said 3 was here with a little 4 and then a 5. Okay, that wasn't the case because we had a consolidation and a new high here. So over what we're doing now, I did this earlier, so we had a 1, 2. This all was a wave 3. You had a wave 4 that crossed over, so that has to be an ending diagonal, expanding or whatever you want to call it. This is wave 5, and so when this is done, maybe you get another low 4 here and a 5. But when this is done, we're looking for this to complete, and we're starting over with our initial wave 1 lower into wave 2, which could be deep retracement. Now, this is on the when by the time we get our weekly analysis this weekend, we have to see where price is. Is it back underneath this 598? This is a very important level for us, and this is bullish. We're above that. All right, but we have all sorts of indicators, again, telling us a reversal is near. And so we're looking at this wave 2 over here. And so we're into resistance, even though this is bullish over here. We're into resistance, possibly exhaustion gap. We'll see. So the moving averages were underneath all those. Let me show the other, sorry. Let me show, okay, so the bullish point of view, if this is a wave 2, all right, so this, let's say this is an extension, 1, 2, and we go into wave 3 much higher, right? 3, 4, 5, and with all-time highs, this has to continue to grind up. You know, we shouldn't see any real pullbacks in this. So let's see how this reacts. This should just go pretty much, you know, straight up, candle after candle after candle, until you get to a wave, top of wave 3 into a 4, and then a 5. Now, momentum could be, this would be a leading diagonal into a 2, and then 3, 4, 5. It doesn't, as long as 3 is not the shortest wave, then wave 1's pretty long here. So if 3 can't be the shortest, so you get wave 3 and then 4 and then 5 would have to be the shorter one if it's not longer than 1. Okay, and then of course there's other ways to be bullish if it does break down from here. There's other ways to be bullish, but at this point, all of this process to me would say that this was the end, just like we're talking about on the bearish scenario. Let's forget about this 1, 2. Let's say this is the end of this entire move. Then you get wave 1, and you get a deeper pullback to wave 2, and 3 going much, much higher, 700, 800, whatever. And I just really don't think that's going to happen because of one huge situation, and that's the Buffett indicator. The valuation is already at historic highs, well above historic highs. So let's see how this little thing plays out here. And for sure, this move is done underneath this point right here. All right. And that would, to me, tell me that this is all complete, whether you're bullish or bearish. All right, let's go to the indicators. All right, you looked at the moving averages, you're above all of those. Bullish stance. We're into the options expected move, and we're getting into resistance really close here. Again, so you have negative divergence here again in the near term, and we're overbought. We're really strong conditions, overbought here, and you know, in this situation, maybe we have just a little bit of cool off here, back into the 8 EMA, and we get one more high for negative divergence in the near term. Okay, so we'll be looking again tomorrow to see what happens with price action and in comparison to the RSI in the near term. So you had your correction, back up to overbought. Let's see if we get lower high in RSI and maybe a higher high in the market. And same thing with the slow stochastic. Let's see if this rolls over and puts a headwind on those on the bulls. T-mark. Oh, look at that. I didn't look at that earlier. That's cool. So we have a 9 count exhaustion. This still could go just a little bit higher. We have 609.07. That's resistance up above. Maybe we get there, but we do have another 9 count. The 9 counts, just so you guys know, it often reverses on the 9. At other times, it goes just a little bit higher before you get your correction. Right on the 9 here. Right on the 9 here, even though it was only a correction sideways, same thing. Same thing here. Same thing here. So 9 counts, they're really good indicators. Now this is a tough one right there, that just grinding, but eventually got the reversal. So let's see what happens here. Is it going to roll over right away, meaning into tomorrow, or is it going to take us, a few bars higher, get to resistance, and then fall from there? Money flow index, same thing. Money's going, it's flowing in on the lower time frame, but does it go all the way up? Maybe if we hit that resistance, maybe we'll get to that overbought territory again. But for now, negative divergence. Bollinger Band, yes, sell signal. All right, you had your buy signal here. We had positive divergence there as well. And so that's why we added on those calls when we were explaining the positive divergence. And we were looking for a lower high or a higher high. I mean, I know that sounds like the obvious, but we were short here. You want to protect your profits with a positive divergence. And that did occur. Made new highs. Now we're into the Bollinger Band on the upside with overbought conditions. Remember, it doesn't have to happen right away, but that is a sell signal on both the daily and the 65 now. And the L8 oscillator, just same thing. It's just lower. So on this next move here, so on this, is this a 1-2 and we're in wave 3? Maybe we get a little sideways correction, and then we get another divergence right here on this really small scale of 3 into a 5. All right, we'll check it out tomorrow. Okay, that's what we have today. No need to look at the VIX. We already see where that's at. So let's see what's happening here. And well, maybe the VIX is in a setup on a visual. So we had what I thought would have been a inverse head and shoulder. That still could be. So that was a very shallow pullback on there. Maybe we're looking for left shoulder, head, right shoulder into here, and then new highs. So that would create basically our neckline. We could consider like right here or so. But that's another thing we talked about. You see the bonds. That was alert for the bonds going higher. I'm telling you, we did this analysis today. I made a bunch of videos. And TNX, the 10-year rate, is dropping. It's dropping hard, and it's continuing. It popped today and then sold off. And that's going to start affecting stocks. So we have a 10% move in the VIX. We're at negative 11%. That says in the next 2 days, we're going to have an up day in the market. Or excuse me, a down day in the market. Okay? So even if you're bullish, look for a reversal in the market Wednesday or Thursday. We have Powell speaking tomorrow morning. We have GDP on Thursday. So any of those catalysts could be a reversal, and it doesn't mean that reversal is it. I think it's going to break out to the upside on the VIX, and the market's going to continue lower. But it doesn't mean that it's not telling us that. It's just telling us that look for a down day in the market and or possible reversal. All right, we close this gap here. That's gone. I'll actually move it over to here. Give that nice gap down there, and that's actually an island gap right here. So we'll leave that on. And let's see if our setup works. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. All right. Have a wonderful day, you guys, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.